We're going to begin, of course, with the government shutdown now entering day 18. President Trump showing no signs of backing down, making a primetime address to the nation tonight and then traveling to the border on Thursday.
Democrats will have a response as well. This Friday will mark the first missed paychecks for 800,000 federal employees who've been furloughed or who are working without pay. The shutdown extends through Saturday. It will be the longest on record. Our chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl spoke with Vice President Pence just moments ago. Starts us off from Washington. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. The vice president said the president will portray this as a national security crisis at the border. But there is a real credibility question. I asked the vice president about the repeated false statements and inaccuracies coming from the White House on this issue. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. The president told Democratic leaders that the shutdown could go on for months, even years. Is he really prepared to keep the government shut down that long?
I think President Trump is prepared to do what's necessary to address what is a real humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border. Look, John, the American people deserve to know that the situation on our southern border has become, as the Washington Post said, a bona fide emergency. 60,000 people a month. And for the first time on record, the vast majority of those are families, unaccompanied children, and it simply is overwhelming the ability of our Border Patrol and Customs agents to be able to address it. We need new resources. We need to build a wall. We need the Congress to come to the table and work with this president to address this crisis once and for all.
But more broadly, how can the president how can his word be trusted on this when he has said so many things that are just not true about this crisis? He said that Barack Obama has a 10-foot wall built around his house here in Washington. You know that's not true. He said that some of his predecessors told him that they wanted to build a wall, but all 4 living presidents have now put out statements saying that they never had any such conversation with the president. And then you saw Sarah Sanders say that nearly 4,000 terrorists come into the country every year, and you know that's not true either. How can the American people trust the president when he says this is a crisis, when he says things over and over again that aren't true?
Well, look, the American people aren't as concerned about the political debate as they are concerned about what's really happening at the border, and that's what the president's been focusing on.
I mean, the White House said nearly 4,000 terrorists come into our country. That's not true.
John, nearly 4,000 known or suspected terrorists were apprehended attempting to come into the United States through various means in the last year.
Overwhelmingly at airports, not at the border.
Yeah, but 3,000 special interest individuals, people with suspicious backgrounds that may suggest terrorist connections, were apprehended at our southern border. Last year alone, 17,000 individuals with criminal histories were apprehended at our southern border. Literally billions of dollars of narcotics flow through our southern border. 90% of all the heroin that comes into this country that claims the lives of 300 Americans every week comes through our southern border. The passion you hear from President Trump, his determination to take this case to the American people, as he will tonight in his national broadcast from the Oval Office, comes from this president's deep desire to do his job to protect the American people. And we're going to continue to carry that case forward until the Democrats in Congress come to the table and start negotiating, not just to end the government shutdown, but to address what is an undeniable crisis at our southern border.
But why are we in this mess in the first place? The president said over and over again, in fact, you said that Mexico was going to pay for this wall. So now he's shutting down the government so that to force taxpayers to pay for the wall. I mean, that was a promise that he didn't say once or twice or 3 times. He said over and over and over again, Mexico's going to pay.
That's right. And the president renegotiated the NAFTA agreement, now the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, in a way that will benefit the United States of America in jobs and tax revenues in the hundreds of billions of dollars.
That's not what he said. He didn't say he was going to renegotiate a deal.
To come.
He said Mexico was going to pay for it.
John, we've also negotiated a new arrangement with Mexico going forward, that when individuals come into this country and come to this country and apply for asylum, they'll be able to remain in Mexico while they're going through the judicial process. As I sit here today, Democrats refuse to even negotiate to end the shutdown and address the border crisis, and it's time they came back to the table.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
And John, you pressed the Vice President pretty hard there. You also asked him about this idea the President might declare a national emergency to go around Congress if they can't negotiate a deal.
Yeah, and he said the president is considering that, as we've heard from the president, that they are looking into that. But I pressed, how would that work? And does the president really believe that he could build the wall without any congressional approval or congressional authorization? And no direct answer on how that would work, but he did say it is something that is under consideration. No decision yet made.
Okay, and we'll ask Democratic Senator Kamala Harris about that in our next half hour. John Carl, thanks very much.